world, global level. And it is now India is very suffering.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So we are on time. So we'll start the session, and the live is also there. Hemant sir, live streaming is already
Yes,
started.
you can start.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So Jai Bhim, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on what part of the world you are joining this lecture. Welcome to the Ambedkar lecture series organized by Boston Study Group. Boston Study Group is an Ambedkarite organization working not only in the part of US, but also affiliated and connected with other continents of the world. So before moving forward, like I will want to wish you happy Dhammachakra Pravartan Din, which we have celebrated just few days before. And Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar gave us a beautiful, wonderful Dhamma on this in this day. So just I'll give you the brief introduction about what is Boston Study Group, and then we will move towards our topic. So Boston Study Group is an Ambedkarite organization situated in Boston, Massachusetts state in the United States of America. It is founded in 2015, and they worked on the issues related to caste discrimination in India as well as South Asia, with the goal of annihilation of caste. And Boston Study Group also organize various lectures, conferences in person as well as online. And this is also a part of one of the lecture series, Dr. Ambedkar lecture series. And I think without much delay, coming back to our events, today's event. And the topic is very crucial. The topic is very crucial as well as critical to see, because the topic which is selected by Dr. Mahendra Jadhav today is Dr. Ambedkar and John Rawls' theory of social justice, a critical comparison. So, and this lecture is delivered by Dr. Mahendra Jadhav. So I'll introduce him in a very brief way because I received his profile and it's so long. So I was not sure whether I can say everything about him, but like just to the glimpse, he's a PhD scholar in Osmania University. He just submitted his PhD on constitutional economics and untouched philosophy of Indian Constitution. He received the Dean Award in 2020 from Research Excellence in Law from Osmania University. He's a lawyer in profession. Also, he's an educator. He runs his own school, which I have visited personally, and it was a wonderful school, I know. And he is involved in various social movement, specifically saying like he's a part of Samta Sainik Dal and heading the Hyderabad unit, if I'm not wrong. Also, he translated various books. The first book which I have personally read about the Saket Ayodhya book, it was an excellent book on Saket Ayodhya decision. And another book, he's translated the Vartamanatil Antardvanda, Dr. Ambedkar and Karl Marx, which is translated into English with the title of Dr. Ambedkar and Karl Marx, Dialectics of the Present. And he also presented various academic paper. And one of the paper and the books he wrote about the guide of constitution in this main era, like the whole debate is roaming around the constitution, whether should we have the constitution, whether we shouldn't have the constitution, what type of constitution we want. So to make sure that what these constitutional concepts are and how general people or normal people can understand, so he wrote a wonderful book, Guide to Constitution. With the help of this, I want to recommend 3 books for you guys to read after this session if you want. The first book is this is Ambedkar Chadwadisa Shakti Sangarsha. Is in Marathi now, but it's going to translate it. It's about the Ambedkarite movement after Ambedkar. The another book is Dr. Vartamanatil Antardvanda, Babasaheb and Karl Marx. This is going to like in English, and Mahendra sir will talk about it. And the another beautiful book I received is the World War II and Dr. Ambedkar. I never had, like, I had never listened this kind of title in my whole life about Ambedkar, like World War II and Ambedkar. So the role of Ambedkar in Second World War is very important. So we will listen many things about these books as well, because Mahendra sir, who introduced me all the books. We also have Vaman Gavai sir from Amravati University, and his students also join us. So welcome, sir, and thank you very much. So without any further delay, I will hand over this stage to Dr. Mahendra Jadhav, sir.
Thank you, Vikas. Thank you, your team, for considering me to give lecture on this very important topic called Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar and John Rawls' theory of social justice, a critical comparison. Before I go into this topic, I would like to refer Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's one very landmark speech that he gave on the birth anniversary of Mr. Ranade, when he was invited as a speaker in one of the sessions, where he says that he admits that he doesn't know much about Mr. Ranade, because when he died, he was a child, and he got school holiday because of his death. And whatever comparison between Mr. Gandhi, Ranade, and Jinnah is totally out of the theoretical reading that Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar had during his student age. And he did not commit or agree to have profound knowledge on these individuals, and whatever he will speak is totally a theoretical knowledge that he gained. Similarly, I would also like to admit that I am not a authority on John Rawls' social justice and Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. My entire effort, my entire honest effort would be to highlight what Mr. John Rawls talked about social justice, and what Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar fought throughout his life to provide social justice to millions of people. Why are we comparing these two individuals? They are contemporary. They are contemporaries. One is from Western world and one is from the Asian subcontinent. Why are we comparing these two individuals is very important to understand. When we talk about social justice, the social justice that we understand and the social justice which Western world understand, it has a very significant difference. The Western world talks about injustice, inequality, discrimination in a different perspective. They have racial discrimination, they have color discrimination. But when it comes to India, the total picture of social justice changes. In India, you have religious inequality, religious discrimination, caste inequality, caste discrimination, gender discrimination, language disparities, geographical differences. In fact, in the amount, the food that you take, there also we see the difference of opinions and hate towards other fellow beings, what they eat and what they wear. So it is very important to understand the two worlds, social justice, the concept of social justice of two different worlds. Let me go through the famous quote from John Rawls. When we talk about social justice, he says, a theory, however elegant and economical, must be rejected or revised if it is untrue. Likewise, laws and institutions, no matter how efficient and well arranged, must be reformed or abolished if they are unjust. With this quote, I would like to start my talk. To give a brief about his bio, Mr. John Rawls' bio, he born on 21st February 1921 and died on November 24, 2002. He was a political philosopher from United States, and he taught at Cornell University for a few years and Howard University for nearly 40 years. John Rawls is considered as one of the most influential political philosophers of 20th century, and that is why I thought of taking John Rawls with Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar and compare these two great philosophers, what they talk on social justice and how different and how similar their concept of social justice is. And because of his extensive contribution in political science, social and moral philosophy, he has been referred in various courts in US, UK, and Canada, and so on. That's how influential Mr. John Rawls is in Western world. Now, if we try to understand Mr. John Rawls and his theory of social justice and a political thinker, we come across three important books that he wrote. One is Theory of Justice, second is Political Liberalism, and third is Law of the People. The first book, that Theory of Justice, this book focuses on distributive justice and attempted to reconcile the opposing claims of values of liberty and equality. My friend, when we talk about social justice, John Rawls in this book is trying to justify the distributive justice and attempt to reconcile the opposing claims. What is opposing claims? Say, for example, I have certain claims, I have certain quarrels with the state governments, and I want my rights to be given by the stadium by the state country. So how the state can distribute the national resources and how they can ensure that justice is given to each and every individual is talked in this Theory of Justice book. The second important book that we come across is Political Liberalism. This book talks about the issue of how citizens divided by vexing religious and philosophical differences should come together to support a constitutional democratic regime. My friends, we will talk in detail about how John Rawls is talking about the different vexing religious and philosophical differences and how he talked about joining together and working together with the state to ensure that justice is provided, the social justice is established. The third book is Law of the Planet. This book draws a crucial distinction between basic human rights and the rights of each citizen in the democracy. We will talk in detail in the later slides. Now, my friends, let me come to the main topic. Mr. Rawls' theory of social justice as fairness, the crux of Rawls' social justice is considered can be seen in the justice as fairness. This justice of fairness concept talks about a society in which every individual person is free from all the bondages. If we see the democratic countries, or if we see the world at together, we will see that different countries have their own different social issues, internal issues, civil issues, political issues, and they are all bonded in different inequalities, the economic problem, the social problem, the religious problems. Rawls' theory of justice as fairness talks about these bondages and how essential, how important is to have the equal rights within the system of governments, how the government should work to provide justice to each and every individual, how they can work, how the social institutions are responsible for ensuring the justice to the people. People is all the crux in John Rawls' theory of justice as fairness. This justice of fairness also talks about justifiable utilization of political power. My friends, what is justifiable utilization of political power? In any democracy, we will see that people elect their representatives in the parliament. In parliament, the political parties enact laws in accordance with the constitution. But sometimes we see that in many Asian countries, this problem is seen very openly, that political parties, they promise one thing during the elections and they do exactly the opposite once they are in power. So John Rawls says that once the political party is representatives are elected in the parliament, they should work to ensure that the political power which has been given to them by the people for which they have been elected, they should utilize the political power in a justifiable manner. They cannot encroach, they cannot misuse the political power and do injustice to people. Without this justifiable use of political power, you cannot think of unity. You cannot think of justifying the different cultures of the society. You cannot think of ensuring social justice to any community or any group of the society. And therefore, Rawls talk about Rawls talk about justice as fairness. Raul further says that any conflict, the conflict between freedom and equality, and talks about justice as fairness in his famous book, Theory of Justice. The conflict between freedom and equality is always there in any in any democracy. You will see that people are fighting for equality. You will see that people are fighting for freedom. You will see that people are fighting for gender equality. You will see that people are fighting for economic problems, and there is conflict all around. And therefore, Mr. Rawls talks about justice as fairness. The government, the political parties should work together to provide justice, and that justice should be distributive justice. He says, according to him, the justice is the first virtue of social institutions. What are the social institutions? You have seen that in all the democracies, we have the bureaucracy, we have the social institution, we have the community groups, you have the social institutions, you have the civil societies which work in align with the state government to implement the policies that have been made by the government. Social institutions works hand in hand with the government to implement the policies that have been made in the parliament. But what he says, what John Rawls says, that if these social institutions doesn't work to provide justice to the people, there is no meaning to the social institutions. And the first virtue of all the social institutions, of all the bureaucratic institutions, of all the civil societies, is ensuring justice is given to people of the nation. Now, I would like to highlight two important aspects of principles of Rawls' ideology. Rawls talks about two fundamental principles in his Theory of Justice book. The first is the application of principle of justice to the basic structure of the society. Now, people try to understand here the application of principle of justice to the basic structure of the society by exercising citizens' sense of justice. Now, application of principle of justice. The political parties should try to apply the constitutional provisions, should try to implement the welfare provisions enshrined in the constitution for the welfare of the people. But at the same time, the citizens of the people, they should have the senses, they should have the idea, they should know that what their political parties are doing, what their elected representatives are doing, and the citizens should have the sense of what they are doing, whether the political parties are ensuring the social justice to different groups, different societies of the people or not. This aspect the citizens must have in their mind when they elect their political representatives. The second is the application of citizens' power of political reason and thoughts in forming, revising, and rationally pursuing their good. When we elect our political representatives, where in a democracy, one of the important aspects is choosing your representatives to be ruled. People choose their representatives so that the government can rule them. But this aspect, the citizens should have the reasons, the logic and the rationale behind forming these governments. If they feel that this government is not working for ensuring social justice, for not working to give economic justice to the people, for not working towards implementing the constitution as a whole, they have the power to revise, to dethrone the political parties, and they should use this power rationally. Another aspect I would like to highlight is, now, my friends, we elect the government. We have the government in power, but we have seen that in Asian countries most often that political parties, they have a very less will to work for the welfare of the people. No doubt they promise during the elections that they will do this and that, blah blah blah, but when they come to power, you will see that their real intention was to gather power and enjoy the constitutional right, the power that they aim for. And that is why Rawls says that if the political will to implement the constitution is not present in the political parties and the elected representatives, you cannot expect any good to the society. You cannot expect any welfare provisions to be implemented, to be passed, or any law that that should have been enacted by the parliament. You will not see that. Forget about ensuring justice, forget about social justice, forget about economic justice. If the political will is not there in the political parties and parliamentarians, you cannot expect any justice and you cannot expect any good to happen with the people. And therefore, Mr. Rawal talks about citizens' power of practical reason and thoughts. Rawal says that if the citizens feel that parliamentarians are not working for their welfare, the parliamentarian doesn't have political will to implement the constitutional provisions, then they should use their political reasoning and dethrone the political parties and see that who can work for their welfare. While doing this, my friends, Mr. John Rawls' very important theory, which is called social contract theory. You must have heard about Mr. Thomas Hobbes. Thomas Hobbes is known as one of the most influential philosophers in modern times. He has written a very great book called Leviathan. In that Leviathan book, Mr. Hobbes talks about social contract theory. In what is this social contract theory? Social contract theory means different groups should join together, agree on certain aspects, and form a government for their own good. This social contract theory is adapted by Mr. John Rawls, and he tried to justify this social contract theory in his own way by talking that there should be social institution, the people should align with the social institution, they should join together and work with the state missionaries to to see that the welfare provisions, the social justice is ensured. That's why he draws much attention towards Mr. Hobbes' social contracts theory. Now, I would like to highlight one more philosopher who talked about Mr. John Rawls and his theory of social justice. Mr. Professor Anders Forrestal highlights three important phases of Mr. Rawls' theory. I would like to highlight those three aspects of Rawls' theory. One is people with different belief can agree with some principles to resolve basic conflict. As I told in my earlier slide that Rawls draws attention to Mr. Hobbes' social contract theory and says that people should join together people from different beliefs should join together on certain principles to resolve the basic conflicts. We have seen that in India also we have different millions of hundreds of thousands of castes, several religions, thousands of languages, different social groups, religious groups. Every social and religious group have conflict against each other. So, according to Forrestal, John Rawls talked about agreeing with these basic principles to avoid these basic conflicts in the society so that the society can function smoothly. And for that, he says that consent in some sense is necessary for the legitimate exercise of state power. Now, here, say for example, there are two different groups. They should consent each other on some senses, on some principles, and work together so that the government that they choose for implementing the constitution to rule, they can exercise their power to implement the policies that have been made for the people. Now, here John Rawls is talking about consent. John Rawls is agreeing with certain principles to resolve the basic conflicts in the society, and citizens should have support of each other so that the societies function smoothly. My friend, we have to agree that in any democracy there are conflicts in society. There are conflicts in religion, there are conflicts because of language, because of racial discrimination, because of food habits, because of clothing habits. John Rawls talks about forgetting these conflicts and build certain understanding and try to form an institution, form a group so that there is the society should run functionally. My friends, we cannot deny the fact that in any democracy, people should have their consent so that the government can work smoothly. But I feel that that consent, that agreement, that social contract which Hopes is talking about should be just fair and reasonable. Because if there is no fair, fair and reasonable understanding, there is no consent. You cannot expect anything to happen for the people. We have seen that in especially in India, two different groups. They, in fact, currently we are witnessing that on every small aspect we have conflict, be it language, be it cinema, be it art, be it literature, be it, you take any aspect and you will see conflict. In these scenarios, when Rawls is talking about consent and agreement to resolve the conflicts, but he's failed to understand the Indian diaspora where there are a number of conflicts in the society, but still India is united. We have to see that how these consent can be built through just fair and reasonable means. Now, what is John Rawls' theory? We have talked about, he has drawn some attention from Hope social context theory. There is one other aspect also where it is considered that John Rawls' theory of social justice is an alternative to Jeremy Bentham's utilitarianism. Jeremy Bentham is considered as the father of utilitarianism. What is utilitarianism? Utilitarianism talks about maximum happiness of maximum people. You must have heard this notion sometimes back, or in your day-to-day life also, where where we have heard that Bahujin Hitai Bahujan Sukai. Uh, I believe, in fact, it is a matter of research, and in fact, my intentions and my thoughts are to study these aspects, that how Jeremy Bentham drawn this maximum happiness of maximum people idea from Tathagat Buddha, and how he transcended this Pali notion into the English and projected in the Western world. This is one other area of research that I would like to work in my future. So John Rowell is impressed with Bentham's idea of utilitarianism, where Bentham is talking about maximum happiness of maximum people. This notion is supported by many Western philosophers such as Adam Smith, John Stuart Mill, Henry Sedgwick, and many other philosophers, because this is the crux of the society. Buddha talked about maximum happiness of maximum people 2,500 years before, and we have seen that the entire world was benefited because of his rational thinking. We have seen that how we have to understand that how Buddha's ideology, this maximum happiness of maximum people, have reached to the Western world, the European world during the Ashoka's reign, and how the Western world adopted Buddha's ideology and interpreted in their own ways, in their own areas. This is again a area of research that we need to consider on. My friends, again, John Rawls is considered, he believed that personal liberty, which every individual has right and equal share of national resources. The democracy, in any democracy, the government, the constitution talks about equal distribution of economic resources, equal distribution of all the resources that the government establishes for the smooth functioning of society. But we have seen that certain section of people enjoy the complete right, and another section they doesn't have even the basic rights. John Rowell talks about this right, this liberty, where every individual of the society should have the equal right in the national resources, the national economy and national development. Every individual should have the equal say. For that, how it can be done, how the national resources are distributed among the people. For that, he talked about political stability. Without political stability, you cannot have the equal distribution of any national resources among the people. if there is no political stability, if there is political disturbance in the governance, you cannot expect any policies to be implemented properly. You will see that the government has fallen. You will see that this government is cursing the other, this government is criticizing other, that government is falling down, and therefore, without the stability in politics, you cannot expect any good or any distribution of national resources to the common people. Now, people, when you talked about political stability, when you have political stability in governance, you will see that various good laws have been passed, are passed by the political party. But if those laws, the laws passed by the political parties, are ineffective, and constitution and the laws passed by the parliament are ineffective to protect the people and their rights, you will see that maximum people of the country will be thrown away from the mainstream development. If there is no political stability, if there is no political will, there are no enactments of proper laws, there is no implementation of laws, and there is no equal distribution of the national resources. And as a result, you will see that marginalized section, marginalized people will be thrown away from the mainstream development. And therefore, he talked about political stability and equal distribution of national resources. And for that, Mr. Rawal proposed that people should adjust with the social institutions which work with the state mechanism. Now, what are these social institutions? Uh, we have different sections of the society. They form their own institution. They form their own organizations. There are bureaucratic institutions established by the constitution itself. And there are also the delegated institutions established by those bureaucratic institutions. What Raul is proposing is people of the society, they should adjust with these institutions uh, to work with the state mechanism. The state mechanism, the bureaucratic mechanism, in other words, people should have these institutions, social institutions, to align with the state mechanism, so that whatever laws are passed by the government, the implementing partners, the bureaucracy implements those laws. So the state social institutions should work with these bureaucratic institutions or state mechanisms, so that the proper implementation of the laws is possible. And therefore, he asked people to surrender their social institutions so that their objection is limited. Now, I was wondering when I read this aspect of Rawal, where he says that people should surrender their social institutions so that their objection is limited. But if you in democracy, we are talking about the democracy and social justice aspect. Therefore, I would like to highlight the picture in democratic nations. If I surrender my basic rights to the government, if I surrender my liberty to the government, I don't understand how the government will think about me, because when they know that the citizens or people are surrendering themselves to the state mechanism, they will definitely crush people. And that is what happening in India. People these days have surrendered themselves to the Brahminical hegemony, and we are seeing that their basic rights, the fundamental rights, have been crushed in every passing day. Therefore, I'm little curious to understand more further in detail why Mr. Rawal is asking people to surrender their social institutions so that the objection is limited. My friends, in democracy, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar also says that there must be an opposition party to object the policies of the government. And if there is no objection, if there are no questions raised against the governing political parties, I don't understand how there will be a smooth functioning of the government, and how the ruling government will ensure that social justice will be ensured to the people, for what Mr. Rawal is advocating for social justice. This is very interesting area of further research, in fact. Now, my friends, because of these notions, where Mr. Rawal is asking to surrender their social institutions with the state government, where he is asking to give their consent to the political state mechanism, so that there is a smooth functioning of the state authority and proper implementation of the policies, he has received backlashes, criticism from various thinkers, writers, philosophers, and ideologies because of his stand of surrendering their rights to the state mechanism. Therefore, during his late days, we have seen that Raoul has agreed that his theory is not totally moral or philosophical theory, but a political philosophy, where he's talking about social institution and their alignment with the state. This change of stance from Mr. Raoul has come because of the backlash, because of the criticism he received for saying that people should surrender their social institutions to the state mechanism, and that is why he had to clear his stand that his theory or his philosophy is not totally moral or philosophical theory, but a political philosophy. And further, he warned people he want people that political parties in any democracy are mostly ignorant. They are ignorant about the social facts. They are ignorant about the economic facts. They are ignorant about the religious fact, and that is they hide their failures behind these ignorances. We have seen in India also political parties, they say something, they do something, and they take the stance of curtain of ignorance, that they gave the statement or they took the stand because they don't know the pulses of the people. So that is where he says that he wants people, that political parties are ignorant, and we have to be very cautious, be very vigilant, be very understanding about the activities of the political parties, because they doesn't have the political will, they doesn't have the intentions to work for the social justice. That's the reason why he talked about vigilant citizens. My friend, with this, I finished Mr. John Rawls' social theory, social justice concept, and I'll move towards Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. I see there's no other statement than this is so relevant, so apt, so visionary, and so significant even in today's scenario, where he says that Indians are governed by two different ideologies. Their political ideals set in the preamble of the Constitution, which affirms a life of liberty, equality, and fraternity, but their social ideal embodied in their religion, which denies them. We are seeing that despite having the greatest constitution of the world, which talks about liberty, equality, and fraternity, because of Indian mindset is embodied, ingrained, curtained in the religion and the philosophies taught by the religious books. These religious understanding, these beliefs denies the concept called liberty, equality, and fraternity. So visionary, so contemporary, but so live statement is this. I'll just brief you towards the bio of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, since you all must have known about it, but since it's a mandate, I'll just run through you his bio. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, born on 14th April 1891 and died on 6th December 1956. Born in an untouchable family, but he rose to the highest position and wrote the Indian Constitution and paved the way for the modern progressive India. We have seen that how India is progressing because of Indian Constitution. He is one of the greatest and undisputed economists of all time. And in fact, during the initial discussion of this session, we were discussing why it is very important to discuss Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's economic thoughts in current time. It is very important to discuss Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's economic time. He was also the chairman of drafting committee and the first law minister of India. Throughout his life, he worked again to uproot the inequality. He dismantled the thousands of years inequality and spearheaded the war of human rights and dignity. My friend, apart from writing Indian Constitution, we all know that he has written the greatest constitution of the world. But apart from that, he has written hundreds of books on economics, society, politics, anthropology, history, caste, religion, communism, democracy, state socialism, etc. And to name few landmark books which I'm personally impressed, and in fact the entire world should read these books, are Annihilation of Caste, Riddles in Hinduism, The Buddha or Karl Marx, The Buddha and His Dhamma, Revolution and Counter-Revolution, The Problem of Rupee, Thoughts on Pakistan, and States and Minorities. These are some of the masterpiece books that everyone must read. Now, my friends, why are you discussing Mr. Rawal and Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar? Why these two different individuals from two different worlds have we are trying to understand, we are trying to listen. According to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, the system of society is categorized into four different facets. One is social, second is political, third is religious, and fourth is economic. Throughout his life, he fought on these four aspects, and we will see what are those. We have seen Mahad Revolution, which he fought in 1927 for social equality, where he highlighted that how social discrimination can restrict the people, the citizen, from drinking the basic human right, which is called water. People were denied to drink even the water. Through this revolution, he highlighted the very important aspect that people in India are even denied to drink water. Through Kala Ram Mandir in 1930, he showed the world that how religion plays a vital role in religious sanctions and confine people from worshipping God. He tried to enter the Kala Ram Mandir with thousands of his followers, because untouchables were considered as Hindus. Though the outcasted Hindus, they were denied to enter, worship the gods and enter the temples. With this revolution, he tried to show that if you consider as Hindus, then allow us to enter the temples, allow us to worship the gods. It was not like he believed God, but the notion that if you consider the untouchables as Hindus, then allow them to enter the temples and worship your Hindu gods. In political arena, he fought through political Pune Pact in 1932. He fought very fierce battle with against Mr. Gandhi. He was one of the most powerful individual during the Indian independence. But Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar fought for the political rights against Mr. Gandhi and Congress, and succeeded to give the political rights to his people. On religious aspect, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, we all know, and we must have read this famous speech which he gave in Yevla in 1935. The title of the speech was Mukti Kaun Pate, where through this Mahad Revolution, Kala Ram Mandir, Pune Pact, and various other agitations, he understood that the Hindu religion cannot be reformed. Hindu religion will not give any rights to untouchables, be it social, religious, economic, or political rights. And therefore, he was tired of his activism and trying to reform the Hindu religion. Therefore, he thought that it is best to renounce the Hindu religion, and that therefore in 1935 he announced that he will renounce Hinduism altogether. Now, my friend, if you try to understand Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar and his activism, I believe his activism was alternative. He has given alternative for every existing damn unequal system of that time. You take any agitation or any revolution that he fought against the Hindu Brahminical hegemony, you will see that Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar not only talked about that social inequality, not just talked about fighting against that system, but he provided an alternate to every damn system. Therefore, I believe his modus operandi of throughout his life was giving alternative to his society, to the people, to females. You will see that you must have seen that he has provided every alternative to the society. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, through this alternative activism, he urged his people, and he gave his people that the greatest gift, which is called democracy, the liberty, equality, fraternity that we talk every day in, day out in the Constitution, in every our activism, we see that democracy and democratic principles. That's where Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar guided his followers and the entire marginalized community towards the democracy. Now, people, why he guided his people towards democracy? We all know that the entire world is frenzy in religious frenzy. It is engulfed, it is involved in a religious hatred, the racial hatred, the gender discrimination. But if you try to understand the Indian society, it is very distinct in a sense that the classification that we come across in Indian society is considered as the gift from the God, and therefore people like us have no authority to change it. We don't have any right to challenge the social classification. You cannot challenge it, you cannot reform it, you cannot question it. And therefore, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar not just urged his people to reject that notion of social classification, the Varna system, the caste system. He not just asked his people to reject it, but fiercely talked about uprooting any notion that spoke about inequality. You have seen that he burnt Manusmriti. You have seen that he entered Kalaramandi. You have seen that he drank water from the Mahad. So he tried to uproot every existing system which thrown people into inequality. That's why it is very important to understand Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's notion of social justice and other philosophers of the world. If I try to understand Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar and other social philosophers of the world, I see that most of the philosophers have come from the elite class. They propounded their philosophies by the understanding of the society. But if you compare Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar and his life, he fought against the system personally. He was involved in the fight against injustice, and that is why he is considered, or he is known as one of the greatest philosophers who not only spoke about various social aspects, social, economic, and political aspects, but also fought personally those fights against the hegemonical mindsets of that time. Now, according to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, social justice. What is social justice? According to him, social justice means to create an ideal and just society. What is just society? According to him, just society is a casteless society. Now, if we have read about Mr. John Rawls, he is talking about social justice, how the political parties, how the social institutions, how the citizens, how the people, how the groups should align together. They should adjust together and work with the society to form a social society and ensure that social justice is ensured. But Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar did not stop here. He is not just talking about social justice and a society for an ideal society. He goes beyond it, and he talked about a society, a just society, or a social justice can only be ensured when there is a casteless society, because caste is the root cause of all the social inequalities in India. Therefore, he talked about a society, a just society can only be successful when there is a casteless society. According to him, the criterion of judging the right and wrong in the modern society is justice. Now, when he is talking about casteless society, he is not stopping there. We have to understand that when we read Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar and other philosophers, but Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar not only talked about a problem, he gives solution to it. He not just gives solution to it, he also provide an alternative to it. He not just provide alternative to it, but also gives a solution how that alternative can be implemented in a real sense. Therefore, when he talked about society, a just society is a casteless society, he says that a modern society, a society without justice, is not a just society, is not a society at all. And therefore, justice, according to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, was simply another name, an alternative name for liberty, equality, fraternity that we see in the preamble of the Constitution and various articles in the fundamental rights and other articles of the Constitution also. Uh, my friends, he is not stopping here also. Liberty, equality, and fraternity, these fraternity and justice, these are notions, these are famous notions. We have seen in French Revolution how liberty, equality, fraternity, this slogan gained momentum during the French Revolution, and how people fought to establish these slogans. But later on, in later days, we have seen that these notions became rhetorical. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar says that these three notions, liberty, equality, and fraternity, are not just rhetorical slogans to fight against the society, but these notions are an integral aspects of a good society. If a society, a just society, doesn't have equality, a society doesn't have liberty, if a society doesn't have fraternity, that is not a good society. Therefore, according to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, these three notions, liberty, equality, and fraternity, are not just rhetorical slogans. We see in our day-to-day life, various activists, social organizations, they talk about liberty, equality, fraternity, and justice like rhetoricals, like slogans. But Babasaheb wanted these notions to constitute into a just society, a good society, because without these aspects, you cannot expect a society to be a good society. He says that there is, further he says that in Indian society, we see that sheer absence of equality, fraternity, and justice. And therefore, this absence of equality, this notion of rejecting equality to the fellow human beings, is the root cause of all the social, economical, political, religious, gender issues. And for that reason, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar fought throughout his life, and we have seen that during his later days, through Constitution, he tried to uh, ensure that every individual's rights are protected, and Constitution should protect their rights in all means. Now, when you talk about a good society, a progressive society, what a progressive society consists of? What are the essential conditions for a progressive society, for a good society? He talks about three important aspects, three conditions for a progressive and a good society. One is social equality. Second is social security or equality, and access to knowledge. Without social equality, you cannot have a progressive society. Without social equality, you cannot have progressive society. And without knowledge, without access to knowledge, we have seen that for thousands of years, millions of people of this country were denied the right to education, right to knowledge. Leave about a right to knowledge, they were not even considered as humans. So to form a progressive society, you should have social equality, you should have economic inequality, and people should have access to knowledge so that they can improve their lives in a better way and contribute for the national growth. According to him, social justice is nothing but a complete change in the fundamental notion of individual's life. What are those fundamental notions? As I discussed above, social, economical, equality, and access to life. Because with these three notions, you can have the complete change in individual's life, their outlook and attitude towards men and things. If there is education, if there is proper education, if there is quality education, you will have a different attitude to see the world. You will have different outlook to understand yourself, your community, and society at large. And therefore, to have such a progressive society, or to ensure that social justice is given to people, these three conditions must be fulfilled. His view, when he talked about social justice, his view was to remove all man-made inequalities of all shades through law, morality, and public conscience. As I told you in my earlier senses, that Indian society believes that the inequality, the social classification, the social discrimination, the caste system, the Varna system is not man-made. They are all gifted, they are all guided, they are all established by God himself. But Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar believed that these inequalities, these social classification, these discrimination is man-made. It is not God-made, or not made by any supranational power. And therefore, to ensure that social justice is established, he fought to remove these man-made inequalities of all shades through law, through constitution, through morality and public conscience. And therefore, we see in the constitution that not just for fundamental rights, he not just given the fundamental rights, but also has ensured that these fundamental rights are protected through constitutional measures. Therefore, he included Article 32 and Article 226 in the Constitution, so that people can approach the courts, approach judiciary if they see that what the fundamental rights are violated, my fundamental rights are violated, and I have a right to question these actions by the state or individuals. Therefore, to have social justice, he advocated that any man-made inequalities must be removed through law, through morality and public conscience. And as we know that he attacked Hindu religion throughout his life and the Hindu system of inequality. When we talk about social justice, when we talk about Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar and his contribution for the human rights, you cannot ignore to mention, you cannot deny to mention Indian Constitution. I feel since I am the student of Indian Constitution and pursuing my PhD in the Constitution, I strongly believe that there's no other document in the entire world as great as Indian Constitution, which talks about human rights. I feel that it is the manifesto of human rights. If you see the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, if you compare the Universal Declaration of Human Rights with the Indian Constitution, you will see the exact similarities, and way beyond the Universal Declaration, we have the provisions in Indian Constitution. Therefore, Universal Declaration of Human Rights talks about universal brotherhood and human rights. Similarly, Indian Constitution, that's why I see that because of the similarities and the greater inclusions of fundamentals, I believe that Indian Constitution is far greater than Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This document, we all know that this document, because of this Constitution, this document, the lives of Indians, be it scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, OBCs, minorities, live about every individual of this country, and their lives have been changed because of Indian Constitution. And we have to be indebted to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar for for his contribution, for the greatest constitution that he gave to this nation. Now, what is this? Why it is great? We must have all read about fundamental rights from Article 12 to 35. There is a huge list of fundamental rights which talks about different aspects of human life, be it equality, be it discrimination, be it right to education, be it right to religion and profess the religion, minority rights, gender discrimination, protection under gender discrimination, right against DRS. Number of lists we can see in the fundamental rights and how those rights are. See, giving rights is important. In one of his speeches in Constituent Assembly, while he was talking about inclusion of fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution, he refers Thomas Jefferson, who is the father, who is considered as the father of American Constitution, and he says that giving mere right is not important. If there is no protection to those four fundamental rights, there is no meaning to fundamental rights. And therefore, we see Article 32, which is one of the fundamental right itself, which gives every individual the right to approach Supreme Court, High Court and Supreme Court if they feel that their fundamental rights are violated, if their fundamental rights are infringed. Article 226 gives the right to approach High Court, and Article 32 gives you right to approach directly Supreme Court without any hindrances. So he has not just given the fundamental rights, he ensured that all the basic human rights are included in the list of fundamental rights, but also made sure that the state or any individual cannot violate these fundamental rights. And if I see that my rights are violated, I have a right to approach Supreme Court directly. Apart from fundamental rights, what I see in the Constitution, the directive principles of state policy, Article 36 to 51. I feel the Part 4 of Indian Constitution, Directive Principles of State Policy, is one of the best examples of ensuring social justice. The crux of social justice can be seen in Directive Principles of Social Justice. How Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar ensured and directed the state. These are the guidelines, these are the directives given by the Constitution to the state government to implement the policies for the social, economic, and political welfare of the people. The state has to follow any law that has been passed in the parliament, any law that has been passed, considered in the assemblies for the welfare of the people. That has to be cross-checked. That has to be in alignment with the directive principles of state policy. If any law that have been passed by the parliament are not in relation with the directive principle, that those laws are considered to be ultra vires, not unconstitutional. That's why there are various lists of, I cannot go in detail of these articles. We may conduct different sessions on these to discuss elaborately on this. We will discuss it further. There are other provisions also in the Constitution which talks about ensuring that social justice is provided to every individual of the nation. Those articles are considered as special provisions in the Constitution. Article 330 to Article 342. There are several articles which talked about representation in the panchayat, reservation in the politics, reservation in the parliament, female reservations, establishment of various institutions to ensure that various sections of the society are represented in the national development, mainstream development. And these special provisions made sure that every section of the society is covered in Indian Constitution. Therefore, I feel that Indian Constitution in a whole, it not just talk about reservation. Many people criticizes Indian Constitution and Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar that Babasaheb only speaks about reservation and he only gave right to certain section of people. But honestly, if people try to read Indian Constitution with an open mind, if they keep the Indian Constitution before them and see it as a book which talks about every individual of the society, they will start respecting Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar in another level. I strongly believe that. Now, let me come to the conclusion where, in a nutshell, social justice, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's concepts of social justice includes, he talks about social justice in different aspects. In his notion, the social justice include, the first thing is abolition of caste, providing education and property for every individual. The citizens of the country should have a dignity of life. Article 21, which talks about right to life and with dignity. Unity and equality of all human beings. We have seen that for thousands of years, we live in a secluded life, a discriminatory life, unequal life, inhuman life. According to him, the social justice include unity and equality of all human beings. Equal worth for men and women. Here he's talking about gender discrimination and gender equality, where men and women should be treated equally irrespective of their gender, and men and women, they should be given equal importance when we consider education, politics, employment, everything. Another aspect is to have fraternity, love, sympathy, and tolerance towards fellow beings. This is one aspect that we see in our day-to-day life, even in current scenario, that we don't have fraternity, we don't have love, we don't have sympathy towards others. And we are the most tolerant community that people that have become for the past 8 to 9 years. For everything, we are intolerant. For everything, we see that the other fellow being is our enemy. He hate our religion, he hate our ideology, he hate our food, he hate our belief, he hates our education, he hates if you wear quality clothes, if you speak well English, if you carry yourself well, again you have been hated. So according to him, social justice includes all these things. Now, let me come to my last slide. In a nutshell, the crux of my discussion, I would like to highlight few important aspects of John Rawls and Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar and compare how these two individuals from two different worlds spoke about social justice. John Rawls talks about justifiable utilization of political power in a country, whereas Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar talks about social, political, religious, and economic equality. John Rawls talks about without justifiable use of political power, one cannot expect to establish unity, which is absolutely right. That without justifiable political use, you cannot establish unity. Whereas Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar talked about alternative culture, alternative politics, and alternative way of life. Because he believed and he strongly believed that reformation of Indian society is not possible. If you and he tried to reform the Hindu society through Kalaram Mandir, through Pune Pact, through various agitation that he did during his lifetime. But he understood that without alternative culture, without alternative politics, and without alternative way of life, there is no social justice to his people. John Rawls talks about conflict between freedom and equality and tries to provide an alternative as justice as fairness, how justice as fairness should be given to people, how the conflicts can be carried out, how the conflict can be resolved by social contract. He is talking about that, and in a way, he is talking about justice as fairness. Justice should be given to every individual in a fair manner. Whereas Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar guided the proletariats towards parliamentary democracy. The parliamentary democracy, that what we see in today, where we elect our representatives, where another a big topic for discussion again. John Rawls, he talks about justice is the first virtue of social institution. Any social institution should have the concept of justice, should have the intention to work for ensuring that justice is provided to people. Whereas Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, he believed justice was simply another name for liberty, equality, and fraternity. John Rawls talks about political will. Without political will, there are no proper laws, there is no implementation, there is no social justice, there is no political justice. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, he talks about constitutional morality. Again, this is a huge topic, constitutional morality, where Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar says that a political party, a legislature, a, a, a common citizen should have the respect towards constitution, the morality to implement the constitution with an utmost honesty, and ensure that social, economical, political justice is ensured to pay people. Constitutional morality is a very huge topic. This word is a new word. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar used this word during his concluding speech, which he gave on 25th November 1949, where he talked about constitutional morality and why in India it is very important to have constitutional morality to implement the constitution to its core. Mr. Rawal considers justice in terms of distributive justice, how the justice can be distributed, how national resources can be distributed among the people, among every individual, and how justice can be ensured by distributing based on the national resources among the people. Whereas Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar talked about complete change in the fundamental notion of individual life. Complete change. He did not spoke about compromising their rights. He did not talk about surrendering their rights. But Dr. Babasaheb advocated for complete change in individual's life. Rawls, during his late days, he agreed that his theory is mostly political and there is no much relation to the social, moral, and philosophical aspect, but his theory is political and advises to the political institution, social institution. Whereas Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar claimed that he openly claimed that his philosophical roots are religion. He believed that human's life is guided by religious philosophy, by the morality which the religion teaches, by the the goodness that religion teaches to its people. That's why he claimed that his philosophical roots are in religion. John Rawls, he committed and he agreed that his alternative to John Jeremy Bentham's utilitarian, his social justice, his philosophy is considered to be a alternative to Jeremy Bentham's utilitarianism. I told you about utilitarianism. He talks about maximum happiness of maximum people, Bahujan Hitai, Bahujan Sukhai. Whereas Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar guided the masses towards Buddhism, the Buddha, the father of utilitarianism. Dr. Babasaheb did not take you to Jeremy Bentham. He did not stop there, but he took every individual towards the greatest philosopher of universe, who originally talked about utilitarianism, who is the original father of utilitarianism, the maximum benefit of maximum people, Bahujan Hitai, Bahujan Sukhai. He guided every individual towards Buddhism because he believed. And before a day of his conversion to Buddhism on 13th October, if I'm not wrong, in the Sham Hotel of Nagpur, when he was interviewed by the reporters, he said that Buddhism is the answer of all the social problems. And I am strong that one day people will understand this phenomena, and they will definitely turn towards Buddhism to establish a just society, a fair society, a society with equality, liberty, and fraternity. And he was very strong in his commitment, and that is why he, on 14th October, he guided lakhs of his followers towards Buddhism. My friend, with this, I would like to conclude my talk, and I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to talk on this important subject. I hope I justified the topic. I tried my best to justify this topic, and I feel that you all are satisfied with my talk. Thank you very much.
Wow, it's such a powerful speech, like powerful lecture I heard. Like, it's kind of no one is like going and coming in between. Like, there are people who are constantly and stay in one place and listening to you, and you spoke like 1.5 hours. It's almost 1.5 hours, like, and without any break. So take a water, I feel. But this powerful concept you taught about us, like how Bahujan Hitai and Bahujan Sukhaya already, like how Western people are utilizing this Buddhist concept, and how Dr. Ambedkar seen this concept and used in different ways and make a possible or make a implemented protected policies. So as a student of social work, I got a framework, or the research framework we used to call the research theoretical framework. You have a talk about the how you can identify the problem, not only identify the problem, but also try to make a solution of it. Not only the solution, but the alternatives, and not only the alternatives, but how to implement that alternative with social justice and protection. I feel this is a huge take for me as a person, but I'll say it's a wonderful and extraordinary session I heard in whole of my life. So thank you very much for this wonderful
Big
talk.
compliment, Vikas.
So now so I will open this forum for the question and answer. So we will take one by one questions. Those who want to ask question, please raise your hand, and then I will call your name, and then you can write your question on the chat box, or you can directly unmute yourself and ask the question. Yeah. Okay, Jitendra Moon, the first answer, first question, I'll see Jitendra Moon. Go ahead, Jitendra Moon.
Okay, I think we should thank Mahendra for his effort to turn out this session. Very insightful. But I think two fundamental things are missed in that. One is that John Rawls is mostly my reading of John Rawls is he is mostly leftist, communist, and Babasaheb is socialist. So that fundamental difference directly was not pointed out, but it is very important to directly point out the difference. We cannot draw parallel between John Rawls and Babasaheb because John Rawls' theory is based on the European thoughts of leftist culture. He has not recognized industrial revolution in Europe as the means for European community to come. Second thing is most important aspect Babasaheb mentioned, but is not came in this defect, is a scientific temperament. What did Article 51 AH told? Scientific temperament is the only way for modern civilization, and this is the biggest gift that Babasaheb gave it to us, is what I'm thinking, which is not mentioned in due course of any of this lecture, but I would like to stress upon this to make sure that people learn from it. So scientific temperament of Babasaheb come from the Buddha and Dhamma, page 242, cause effect theory. That is, effect can be produced only because of causes. For example, bulb is glowing because electricity is flowing on it. Effect of light can be caused only when there is electricity. So this concept of cause effect has been explained by Babasaheb very well, and we can see the scientific temperament of Babasaheb. We should learn from the cause effect theory as a scientific temperament, which is parallelly given in Constitution 51 AH article, right?
Yeah.
And
So
another aspect.
So
Another aspect.
So
Yeah,
thank
I
you
will take another two. I will take another 2 minutes.
Yeah, so wait, we have other questions as well. So you pointed out two things. So we will heard the question from other people, and then we will go to it because it's a limited time.
If you can allow one more, if you can allow one more
include-
minute, I will be very.
No,
if you
no,
can allow
sir,
one more
please,
minute.
please give a liberty to others so we can have, because it's already one and a half hour he is speaking. So let him respond first, and then we will go to the another question. And if we times permit, we will expand it because it's not a lecture, just a question. Yeah, sorry for that.
Fine.
Thank you.
Fine, go ahead, no issue.
Mahendra sir, if you want to respond. Yeah.
I agree with Moon sir. With this limited time and you cannot justify each and every aspect of two great philosophers. And I'll take a note of it, and thanks for adding it to adding this to these two aspects in this lecture so that people are benefited. Thanks, sir.
Yeah. So another question from Naveen Narayan, sir, please. Sorry, sir, you are mute. Can you please unmute yourself? Naveen,
Yeah,
sir?
yeah. Thank you. So I'm speaking from Rajasthan, Jaipur. Yeah, I'm very thankful. Accept my JBeam and thanks, Dr. Mahen, giving so much big idea. I'm seconding your thought as well because the time is not permitting. But my question is very simple. The idea of social justice is missing in the social sector. I work with an international development agency, spent 15 years in that. So is this possible to do something in that? If it is possible, then what should I do? Because each and every day, they are trying to put the things in the individual. So so I'm not bound to the individual, but in the institutional problems that has to be eradicated as soon as possible. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Vikas, and thanks a lot, Boston University, and thanks a lot, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there any answer? Yeah.
You are right. You're absolutely right, sir. There is a total miss in the political will and the parliamentarians that are sitting in the helm of the affairs. That's why in my last slide I stressed on constitutional morality. If we read about Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's conclusion speech, where he stressed on constitutional morality, because without constitutional morality in the parliamentarians, in the politics, in the legislature, in among everyone who is functioning in the national development, you cannot expect justice, you cannot expect social justice, you cannot expect any laws or constitution to be implemented. So there is high need of constitutional morality, and that is missing, as you said, that is missing in everyone. And I doubt that in coming days also, this constitutional morality, the government who is ruling the country at presently will have the constitutional morality, because they are working to dethrone the constitution altogether. Yeah. So it is totally hypothetical even to expect from them any morality at all. Leave about constitutional morality. So as an individual, as a follower of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, and as a follower of as a believer in equality, we need to think how best we can contribute in establishing the social justice. That's what we can do at best. Buddha also said that what best individually you can do for the society is what we need to think about. So we will contribute our own. Let them do their thing. We will do our best.
Yes, thank you very much, Mahendra sir. I hope like Naveen got his answer. Okay, so next question, I'll see the hand from Manish. So Manish, please go ahead. Yeah, you are mute. Please unmute yourself and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is like, when you say morality, constitutional morality, doesn't it come to an individual morality? Because I think finally it comes to an individual and his or her character. If they are moral, they will form a good government, good society. If they are not moral, they won't form it. So my question is how you connect the individual morality to, I'm trying to understand, does it connect to the
I
religious
understood
teaching?
your question.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
And if I would like to go further in Dr. Babasaheb conclusion speech, which he gave on 25th November, and I would like to request you to read that speech again. There, he is talking about constitutional morality, and he is also talking about how this constitutional morality can be cultivated among the people. He says that constitutional morality is not inbound, it is not born, it has to be cultivated among the people, in the minds of the people. And how it can be cultivated, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar has given the answer to the world, that morality, not just constitutional morality, but morality can be cultivated through religion. In my last slide, if you remember, I stress on Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar guided us towards Buddhism. Why he guided towards Buddhism? Because it talked about morality, it talked about liberty, it talked about fraternity, it talked about various aspects of human life. And in fact, we have also read many times that Tathagat Buddha is one of the greatest social philosopher, scientific philosopher of the universe. If we read his teachings, we will see that the morality, the concept that the crux of the social justice is there in his teachings. And that is why Babasaheb Ambedkar stressed on those things, that morality can be learned through religion. But which religion? Again, he says that we have to see that which religion it is. Then he goes to the religion which teaches liberty, the religion which talks about liberty, the religion which talks about fraternity should be accepted and followed.
Thank you, Mahendra sir. Hope like Manish got his answer. I'll see the Vaman Gavai sir raising his hand because he don't have the technical things, but he raised his hand like this. So go ahead, Vaman sir.
Jai Bhim. I'm Dr. Vaman Gavai from Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Thought, Sant Gadge Baba, Amravati University, Amravati. Just I would like to think about whenever globalization and the interventions of the capital hegemony in various countries, just like India, and it is the control goes in the hand of the capitalist, and there is a polarization of the economy as well as the social polarizations. What we can say in this context to solve this problem, because all these problems are the capitalist control the politics, politician as well as the parliament, and do as they want and make the democracy weak. How we can overcome this problem with the aspect or with the Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar as well as the John's Rawls. I'm suffering from cough. That's why I can't go properly and detail. Thank you. Jai Bhim.
Yeah, thank you, Gauri sir. Mahendra sir, if I think Mahendra sir is out of network. Mahendra sir, can you hear us? Oh, his internet, oh, he left. Okay. So I think we had a wonderful questions because I think some technical issues happened with him and he's trying to join again. Oh, yes, now he's here. Yeah. Mahendra sir, have you able to hear Vaman sir's question?
Sorry, sir. I got disconnected due to some internet issues. I couldn't hear what Gawai sir.
Oh, okay. So Vaman sir, can you repeat the
I'm
question
really
in
sorry.
very brief, please?
Sir Jai Bhim, I'm Dr. Raman Gawai. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar thought from Sant Gadge Baba University, Amravati. Very best lecturer and comparative study you have given before us, and it is very motivating and basic. I'm suffering from the cough, that's why I can't go properly in detail. But I would like to ask that the globalization and the capital hegemony controlled by the capitalist and control democracy, control parliament and control government, how we can overcome this problem, this weaken the democracy. It is very difficult, and there is a socially suffering, economically suffering, educational suffering. All these things are being happen in all over the world, but we are suffering very seriously in India. How we can overcome this?
Thanks for the question, sir. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar has given the answer to capitalism in his States and Minorities Gospel, sir. In States and Minorities, he categorically denied the concept of capitalism and given the alternative solution of state socialism, where we can challenge the hegemony of capitalist and capitalist society as a whole, where he says that privatization is dangerous for democracies, first thing. And second thing, to control the privatization, no doubt privatization is necessary for the progress of the nation, but he has suggested the privatization, state-owned privatization, where the state should have the maximum ownership of those industries, and state should control those private ownership, where the hegemony, the capitalist hegemony, is controlled by the state itself, and the profit is utilized by the state government for the maximum benefit of the people. Now, if we see, if we read States and Minorities, we will see that he has given various solutions and various suggestions how the state ownership is effective for the social economic growth of people, where he says that nationalization of industries, nationalization of insurance, nationalization of agricultural industry, where he has suggested how the agricultural industry can be owned by the state, and how the benefits of maximum benefits are given to the farmers. So there are various aspects that can be discussed on how this capitalist hegemony can be discussed. But in a nutshell, Dr. Babasaheb has given the answer in state socialism, where the government has ownership of the entire national resources and industries, and capitalists should not have the complete dominance over the market. That's how we can control the capitalism.
Okay, thank you very much for responding this very critical question in very simple and like effective manner. So I can see the hand from Sanjay sir. So Sanjay sir, please go ahead. Please unmute yourself and yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mahendra, thank you very much for such a thoughtful speech, and thanks for accepting the Boston Study Group invitation for giving the lecture. It is fabulous. I really enjoyed listening to your lecture, and the depth of knowledge you shown there and the efforts you put in preparing for this speech shows your commitment to your cause. So thank you very much. I have one question about, now, when we are talking about the constitutional morality, correct? So, and you said that in reference to that, Babasaheb gave us the Buddhism because we consider the Buddhism is a morally bound religion, or it teaches the morality more as compared to any other religion. But if we look at the India, we have hardly 6 or 7% of the people following the Buddhism, and rest of the population, barring the Christian and Muslim, are the Hindus. So we have to live with the morality of this religion also, even if whether we want it or not. So how we have to balance the morality of in the Hinduism with the morality which is required to maintain the constitution and implement the constitutional morality.
Sir, I totally agree with you that though Buddhism teaches morality and talks about liberty, equality, fraternity, there are hardly a very few numbers technically who believes and follow Buddhism. But I read somewhere where Babasaheb says that no doubt Buddhism is less in number, but if you see logically, most of the religions, they follow Buddha's principles of what he taught, though not directly, but in fact, in one of the, I think if I'm correct in Annihilation of Caste or Caste in India, he says that whatever good we see in Hindu religion was copied from Buddhism. So every religion, in fact, there are references where we see that major religions of be it Christianity, be it Islam, or be it Hinduism, they have copied all the good aspects of Buddhism into their religion and projected through their religion. So number wise, we may not be in majority, but whatever good we follow is believed to be from Buddhist philosophy. So now comes to how we can transcend this to the majority of the people. Technically or legally, we cannot ask people to convert into Buddhism. What best we can do is to promote what Buddha taught to the majority of the people. And constitutionally, legally also, it is since yesterday's event also in Delhi, where huge number of population got converted into Buddhism, and it created a huge uproar in the national media. So it is how I can say, you cannot ask people to convert into Buddhism to follow them. You cannot ask them to convert, but we as an individual can promote his philosophy to the people. It is up to them whether they convert into Buddhism or they live in their religion and follow what Buddha taught is another word of morality, or the human relation matters that Buddha taught. They can be there in their religion and follow the same. That is what they are doing. As Babasaheb said, that whatever good Hinduism is living today is totally copied from Buddhism. So that's how it should be actually. I hope I could justify your
Yeah, so thank you responding, Mahendra sir, for this. So we are running out of time, and we have last question from Sandeep. Sandeep, please unmute yourself and go ahead with your question.
Yeah, thank you, Vikas. Hey, Mahendra Bhau, Jai Bhim, and thank you again. It was a wonderful session. I think very educative. I just had a brief, question on how we can use this academically. I think it was great to hear about John Rawls and Jeremy Bentham, and you connected that to Babasaheb. I don't know whether it was done before or you are doing first time, especially Jeremy Bentham and Buddha's. Looks like, it is just, taken exactly from Buddha kind of thing, the principles. I have to read more in detail, but do you see a potential, or do you think it will be anyway good for, connecting to the world also, to reach out to the people who are teaching this, these authors, to see or do comparative study or publish white papers with, these major universities, to let them know how they are connected with Babasaheb and Buddha?
Sandeep, Jai Bhim, yes, absolutely. In fact, the main intention of having this topic on this universal platform is that because we have been listening that that Babasaheb is the leader of the Dalits, the Bahujans, but we all agree that Babasaheb Ambedkar is a universal philosopher. He cannot be restricted to one simple community. So it is a high time. It is a high time to initiate the discussion on universal platform where we have to compare Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar philosophy with the Western and European thinkers. It is very important also. The reason I personally believe, and this I have stressed in my PhD thesis as well, that the difference between Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar and the other philosophers is Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar lived the movement. He lived the movement. He wrote the movement. He gave the world what is best. Whereas the other philosophers' idea of social justice, or any philosophy for that matter, is an outcome of their reading. They have, if you go to any philosopher and read their personal lives, apart except Karl Marx, I don't see any philosopher have worked on ground level and fought for the rights and justice for the people. But Babasaheb, he not just wrote, he not just propounded the theories, but he himself lived those philosophies and fought on the ground level, on ground zero. That is why it is very important to draw the lines and compare these philosophers with Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, because we all believe that Babasaheb was not just a Dalit leader. We all believe that he did not only talk about reservations. It is his philosophy, his ideology is beyond India. His ideology is universal, and that is the reason why we have to start initiating the discussion and compare Babasaheb with the Western and European thinkers. The reason, as you rightly mentioned, that the reason, in fact, I believe, because I have also not read anywhere that Jeremy Bentham's concept was compared with Buddha's philosophy. Mr. Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan is considered compared with Buddha's philosophy. But if you keep on reading their theories, maximum benefit of maximum people, maximum welfare of maximum people, what is that? The exact translation of Bahujan Hitai, Bahujan Sukhai.
Yeah.
The exact translation of Bahujan Hitai, Bahujan Sukhai. So why we should not initiate the discussion that whatever the Western world is talking about in modern time is already discussed by Tathagat Buddha 2000 years before. In fact, when I was translating Vartamanatil Antardvanda Marx and Ambedkar, I came across that Marx, who talked about communism, his guru was Mr. Hegel. Mr. Hegel drawn all his dialectic from Buddha himself, from the British Museum. Now we have to initiate the discussion when we claim that these Western philosophers have drawn their ideas from Buddha and his philosophies. We have to dig out further and see how these philosophers have came to this. Now, when we talk about universe, we always say that Ashoka sacrificed entire his life and preached Buddhism and took it to the entire 3/4 of the world geography back then. So during his time, Buddhist philosophy has reached.
Oh, so I think he got a technical issue again. So hopefully, but he tried to explain it. Let's wait for some times. So Sandeep said it was a great question. Thank you.
No, I think thank you. Yeah, I think he kind of answered really well. So I think thanks, just in case we don't connect him, but I think it was really
yeah. So thank you everyone for joining, and special thanks to Boston Study Group who invited Mahendra sir. So he's calling. I'll just take his call and let you know. Hello. So his battery died. So
Oh,
he's
okay.
joining from mobile for a few minutes. So let him wait. Let we wait for him like for two minutes, and then we will conclude because lots of question. I can see another hand from Sanjay sir, but I don't know whether he able to respond it through mobile. But I think it's really live. Like this session is a wonderful session and like very lively. So Mahendra sir, I can see him. Wait. Yeah. Okay. So he's here. Yeah.
Hello, I'm really sorry. Hello,
Yeah.
am I audible?
Yeah. You are. Thank you. Yeah.
Please go ahead, Mahendra sir. I think you responded already, but I feel if you want to conclude it, so please go ahead. Or otherwise, we can take another question. Please, like you can guide us. Yeah. Please unmute yourself and sir speak. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
So Sandeep, we need to initiate the discussion and say and see that how the Western and European world has copied Buddha's philosophy and translated and used according to their own political and local conditions, and how they have interpreted Buddhist philosophy in their own ways. So that's how we have to do, and I think this is the right time to initiate this discussion, and that's why Vikas and I thought to have discussion on these two philosophers and see how it goes.
No, thank you, Eric. It was wonderful. I will connect with you offline too. I think it's good if we can, take out to various universities where these subjects are, authors are taught. I think it will be a good. Thanks. Thank you to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So another question, but it will be the last question due to time. So Sanjay sir, please go ahead. I can see your hand. Sanjay sir, are you there?
I am here. Please unmute.
Yes, you are unmute.
Okay, great. Thank you. This is not the questions. This is in response to Sandeep's suggestion that we should reach out to the different universities and we should make the global efforts to bring this comparison to the universities or the academic session. And in that context, just I wanted to let Mahendra and any other academicians who are listening to this particular talk that Brandeis University in Boston publish a journal called as CAST, JCAST. So that is the one. And they invite the articles from all over the world on the CAST, and they publish it, which is available to everyone in the universities. Okay, so and this goes to all the universities across the globe. So please ensure that you use that particular, what you can say, the avenue to get your articles published there, and send your articles. Especially, I will request Mahendra to do something. You can just Google the JCAST in the Brandeis University, and you should be able to find the link, and as well as their previous journals, whatever they have published.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thanks for the information. I'll definitely contact you.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Sanjay, for raising this point. And definitely, I also feel personally like the researcher like Mahendra sir, like who also, he's not only the academician, but he also works in ground. Like if you go like in the movement, in the Samta Sainik Dal, you will see him in the Rohit Vemula's movement while drafting the Rohit Vemula Act, while like fighting for any rights. And in the Hyderabad, if you just Google it or just search it on YouTube, you will get his whole social engagement at itself. Like he's not only the academician, but he's living the concept and implementing it on his ground as well. Like I got opportunity to meet him in his own house, and he was like, we just had a discussion in like very half an hour, and he went to the another meeting of Samta Sainik Dal. So he's very devoted and like contributing in the social, political, and all the aspects of the movements. So thank you very much, Mahendra sir, for joining, and thank you.
And thanks everyone for listening me. It was great pleasure to meeting you all, and I'm really thankful to Vaman sir and all the seniors who are double of my age, who spent their valuable time to listening me and encouraging kid like me to speak on this very important topic. I'm really grateful, sir. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.
You are really good, Mahendra. You're really good. Keep it up.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all audience for joining. And we are organizing this on, we are trying to organize this on every Saturday. You can reach out to us through, like, just Google the Boston Study Group .com. You will get all the kind of information, and so those who provided their email IDs, we will forward the invitations of this kind of lectures to your emails. So if you haven't reached out to us, please reach out to us at bostonstudygroup.com. Yeah. Thank you very much. Jai Bhim.
Thank you everyone.
Jai Bhim.
Thank you. See you again.
Yes, thank you.